The employment situation in this country is extraordinarily strong. I mean, we have 3.4% unemployment. So you have one side of the equation of unemployment, so that suggests the economy is very strong. The flip side is, if you really look around the landscape, the consumers are starting to be on the fence a little bit and starting to sort of falter. Look at the report from Dollar General today after this is over. Just take a look at the way the stock is trading. But then look at what Walmart said, what Target said, what some of the other retailers are saying. Delinquency rates in this country in terms of credit cards and stuff are starting to head higher, levels we last saw in 2008 or so. So the warning signs are there. And then you talk about, in terms of our debt, $32 trillion in debt, basically 31 and change, off a GDP of about $22 trillion. We're talking about debt to GDP in this country approaching 135, 140%. Now, when I first started at Drexel, as I mentioned, one of the first things this gentleman told me, he walked up to me, suspenders, cigar, the whole thing, and he said, listen, never bet against the United States. It's a losing bet. And then he walked away. I don't think I ever saw him again, and he's right. You should never bet against the United States. But over periods of time, there are definitely stretches where things you could sort of sense are about to go a little bit pear-shaped. Now, the stock market is telling a very specific story right now. Stock market is telling you everything's okay. The S&P at 4,200 suggests, you know what? Nobody seems to care. Market's fine. I mean, but if you really look underneath the surface, the stock market is being carried by 7, 8 stocks. NVIDIA, I know everybody's now an NVIDIA expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be one here, but that stock just reached $1 trillion in market cap. It's a $1 trillion market cap company with a company that may do $40 billion in revenue. So you're talking about a company that's trading about 25 times revenue, which is remarkable in that space. Apple's approaching $3 trillion. So the whole market is being driven by these handful, 6, 7 different companies. One has to wonder how long that can go on. Below the surface, though, the damage is being done. And I mentioned earlier that makes your jobs difficult because unemployment at 3.4%, people can ask for more money. They can pick and choose in terms of what they want to do career-wise. But on the flip side, how long can that last, right? And I think you're right at that precipice now where you're dealing with the reality of your situation with the folly of really what's going on the other side. So I really think we're at this sort of inflection point in terms of your jobs and how difficult they are. And that's when difficult decisions need to be made. The market tells one story. I think the economy is telling another story. Now, if you listen to, and I tell this all the time, I'm not smart enough nor humorless enough to be an economist, but if you listen to Jamie Dimon, who's probably one of the most important CEOs in the world right now, he told people a couple weeks ago, be prepared for 6 or 7% interest rates for a foreseeable period of time. And that's a lot higher than we are now. So on one hand, you have people telling you, get ready for a higher interest rate environment. And on the flip side, you have market participants betting that the Fed's going to cut rates at the back half of this year. By the way, as you know, this is June 1st. We're very close to the back half of this year. So you have to ask yourself these questions, I think, in your seats. What would cause the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates in the back half of 2023? It's not because things are going really well. It's probably because something pretty bad happened. So that's sort of I think that's the head of the pin that you find yourselves on right now, which, as I said earlier, on one hand, with the technology you have, that's what makes your jobs, I think, a lot easier than they've been historically. But on the flip side, you have so many of these cross currents going on that makes your jobs extraordinarily difficult.